We're on?
We're on.
Okay. Hello, everybody, all 5 of you out there, mainly my family. Thanks for joining me tonight. And the NAC. I got Kim back here, who's the camera person. Kim, thank you for your work tonight. So I just wanted to say it's been, by the way, my dog's over here going crazy, so if I have to yell in a minute, you'll know why. Appreciate you guys being with us tonight and listening to us. I feel like this is as close to a night out for me as I've had since March 16th. I got a chance to put on a shirt for this first time in 7 weeks, and I actually have my sneakers, my dress sneakers, and my blue jeans on. So I feel like we're having a date night tonight. So thanks for coming out. I can tell you the last 40-some days or whatever it's been kind of like a blur. You would think because we were shut down that things slowed down. I can tell you on a personal basis that today was the first day I worked out of my house. Last Sunday, a few days ago, was the first day that I had been home and not at the club. So we've been going full blast, every day. When I say we, my team of 50-some plus people that we were able to keep on, our full-time employees have been working most every day and from home remotely. And my facilities team has been really hard at work in the NAC. Of course, the NAC being 250,000 square feet, we can have people all over the campus and not get within 100 feet of each other. So that's a good thing. And they've been really working hard. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But we had a lot of questions that were sent in, so I want to get right to them so that we can get everybody answered. So the first one, which is what everybody wants to know, is when the club's going to reopen. As you know, the president came out with a May 1 date. What he would like to see different areas of the country start to open up if possible, depending on what the governors would like to do. Ironically, Georgia opened health clubs today. Also, one of the ones out in Midwest states, I think it was Utah, last week opened up health clubs. Again, it's all dependent upon the area, what the COVID situation is in those areas. A little bit less, obviously, than what we're dealing with here in Pennsylvania. So the governor said that May 8th he wanted to start some of the businesses opening, primarily construction businesses. If I had to guess, based on the intel we're getting, I don't think it's going to be anytime shortly thereafter. I am hoping for a limited opening sometime between May 15th and the end of the month. If I had to bet, I would think that June 1 might be the day of a limited opening. With our hopes then would be a full opening of June 15th. But that's all subject to to change depending on what's going on with COVID-19. And we're happy to comply. I mean, certainly we do want to get back to work as soon as we can and get you guys back in there. But safety first. And when we were told to close, we had no problem doing that, and we still have no problem doing that. Now I say that my situation may be different than most people, maybe. So I'm hoping it's sooner than later for the majority of business people out there. I spend a lot of my time on the phone with people from not only Newtown and around the area, but internationally as well as domestically, and they're anxious to get started. But I don't think anybody wants to have anybody at risk. So that's the answer to that. And of course, as information comes out, we'll let you know. Another good question: what will a reopening look like? Phases, programs, etc. We envision that the club, and for the most part, will be, because of our sheer size, will be able to open up completely. Now, does that mean certain areas like the nursery being open? No, because I think that's in the phase 2 or 3 that was recommended by the president. Now, keep in mind, again, the governor has the final say on all that. So the recommendations from the president are one thing, but each state, the governor makes that decision. So we're hoping that a majority of our facilities are open, in our case, because of our sheer size. I mean, we can spread things out. So for instance, if we were concerned about a Group X class that usually has 50 or 60 or 70 people in it, instead of holding that class in Pulse we could spread it on an entire basketball court, which is 2.5 times bigger than Pulse. So we can maintain the social distancing, we can spread people out, we can make sure people are safe. I mean, we could literally move classes to the field house if need be. By the sheer size of 250,000 square feet, we're able to do things that, most clubs or 95% of the clubs can't. So we figured we'll be able to phase in our programs. Some of the ones that are smaller, though, let's say for instance, say the bar classes. You have 12 or 13 reformers in there. We're going to only use half of the reformers to start, spread everybody out, make sure there's a comfortable distance. By the way, all this, before I go any further, and I'll get a little bit more detail later, is that all this is through the CDC and the World Health Organization. And I might as well touch on it now. We have a distinct advantage over a lot of people. In my work on the President's Council has gotten me a relationship with the Surgeon General, Jerome Adams. Being what it is, I reached out to him last week and I asked him if he would review our plan for opening the NAC. And he graciously, being a friend, he agreed to do so. So whether it's him and or someone on his staff will be reviewing our plan. So I'm proud to say that we're probably one of the only clubs in America that's going to have it reviewed by the Surgeon General. So that should give you a little bit of a good feeling about what we're doing. And we'll get into more of the cleaning and stuff like that in a minute. But other things that we're going to do is, like, for instance, I can imagine the basketball courts won't be able to be used for basketball play. That'll be a little bit later. Things like the youth programs will probably not be available at that time. Again, this will all be determined by what is determined by the governor and his team. In the fitness center, we have actually done a nice renovation in there where we took out the handicap ramp, which gave us another 500 square feet, and now we built another ramp for handicap accessible. So we've actually gained 500 more feet in the fitness center. A terrible, dirty job, by the way. It took 10 days to demo it out and get everything done, and we could have never done it if the club was open. Never done it, because we had to literally, there was 2 inches of dust all over from the jackhammering. But we were able to make that bigger, and we were also taking some of the equipment out that's repetitive so that we have more space in there. And then as far as the cardio, we're going to leave that the way it is, but we are going to make it so that every other machine is accessible so that you have that social distancing. So there's things like that. Some of the classes that we're going to start out will not be utilizing equipment. So classes that maybe have dumbbells and things like that could be exchanged, we won't offer that so that we can make sure that we don't have any problems in that area. As I mentioned earlier, child care will be in the 3rd phase. The outdoor restaurant and pool will be allowed to open in phase 1, we anticipate. And some of the things we'll do there, we'll spread out the chairs. We'll make bunching areas where maybe a family can stay together, but maybe there's another 6 to 8 feet between groupings of people. Again, it's all about spreading people out, making sure that we don't have people right next to each other. The basketball court and the playground outside, though, are one of the things that will be shut down initially. So we're taking all kind of precautions to make sure that people, when they come in, that they're protected and spread. And there's my dog. We'll get into one of my dogs. We'll get into details too about some of the things we're going to do as members come into the club. Another question, what are some of the precautions that will be in place when it does reopen? So in regards to employees, we will equip them with masks, gloves. We'll have touchless thermometers so that for our employees, so we'll be taking their temperature when they come in. And I do believe during the shifts, I believe there's a certain amount of times a day that we'll be testing them if their shift's an 8-hour day. Members, we have a thermometer that we can actually point at your forehead and get your temperature right at the front desk. So we're going to make sure that people are coming in or not exceeding the required temperature that you need to be able to be in the club. Of course, we're going to have, we're pretty darn good at sanitation now. I have to admit, I used to own a commercial cleaning company back in my mid-20s, and I had that for 3 years, so I'm a stickler on that. People comment all the time. They see me picking up paper in the parking lot. We're going to be even more anal about those types of things. I've already told our housekeeping director, Evan, I can never pronounce his last name, but it's Evan D., who's phenomenal, by the way, to increase the staffing. So we're adding more cleaning people. They're going to be visible and in areas positioned during most of the day, and of course at all time during the busy day, just wiping things down and spray bottles in each of the high activity areas. So we'll have it staffed, probably a 33% increase in staff we're looking at. Of course, we've got the hospital-approved disinfectant that kills the COVID-19. We have all the different things, the defoggers that we bought. So these are all the kind of things that we have invested in, and we'll get a little bit more in the sanitation plan. I touched on the Surgeon General's report, Surgeon General reviewing our plan. I do want to go back and tell you that, again, the NAC is really a leader in the industry. And when we did get this, when I did be able to talk to the Surgeon General about doing this, I decided it probably wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't fair, but I want to see the entire industry do well. So I reached out to Linda Mitchell and also to URSA, which is the foremost fitness trade association in the world, which I was the chair of last year, and said we wanted to get input from around the country and around the globe, really, from other clubs to come up with a sanitation and cleaning plan that we could present to the Surgeon General. So I named Kate Golden our cleaning czar, our sanitation czar. Ironically, that name is now stuck in the industry, and people are calling their people sanitation czars. So she's really good at organizing and putting things together, and she spent the last week, getting this data together. I can't tell you how many pages, 10 pages of detailed information on cleaning procedures, opening procedures that she's accumulated along with Linda Mitchell from around the world and domestically to be presented to the Surgeon General. So I do want to tell you that, if you're concerned about safety and cleanliness, you are at the top club in the world for what we're doing, because we are actually sharing this with the entire industry. So rest assured that Kate and Linda are doing a phenomenal job, not just for the NAC, but for the industry. So we'll get into that maybe a little bit more. But another question we have is, and again, I'm trying to get through this because there's a lot. When will the pool and escape reopen? The outdoor pool and escape is part of phase 1. It did include restaurants, so we're very happy about that. We're happy, but we're also, again, taking it, food and, again, that whole area, because the amount of people that at times can be in there. And we will be limiting people, by the way. I do want to touch on that. There will be restrictions about the amount of people in certain areas. So let's say it's, middle of June, and for some reason we haven't, we haven't been fully permitted to allow, full usage of the club or the outdoor facilities. There'll probably be some type of ratio, each person per square foot, that needs to be accommodate them. So let's say, for instance, it was July 4th, and people that go to Escape know how busy we are on July 4th. We may not be permitted to handle as many people as normal. So whatever those guidelines are, we are going to have to and want to abide by them. So we'll take them as they are, but initially when Escape opens up, we're going to make sure that we abide by the same guidelines that a restaurant would open to. I will tell you, I'm excited about the Escape. We've got a guy, Jamie Carnahan, who's our food and beverage manager. I think I mentioned it on the last call, who comes from the hospitality country club industry. He was with Philmont Country Club, Old York Road Country Club, has like a 35-year career. We've stepped up our game in that area. He's a phenomenal guy. He's working hard. He's out there getting Escape ready for you. We've got a new menu. We've spent a lot of money on lighting out there this summer, the ambiance, we're painting it. We've got 11 new umbrellas. I mean, we have really spent a lot of time. And when you come back, you're going to see everything's going to be camera ready. When you stop back in, that you'll see we'll be ready to go when you're ready to come back. So here's another question I think I touched on earlier. When will the kids club reopen? That's in phase 2. I mean, I'd love to be able to tell you when that would be because, again, we're at the discretion of the governor and his team. But when it does, we'll make sure that we're able to accommodate the kids in a healthy manner. And again, keep in mind, certainly not me because I'm 5'7", but size matters. And, when you're as big as we are, you can spread all kinds of activities and programs and, for instance, the kids club out. So let's say, for instance, we get to the point where we need to, we have a high volume and for some reason we are full in the kids club. We can take those kids to other areas of the club, whether it's the third floor youthplex, or we could take them to the gymnasium. So we'll make sure that we're overly staffed to be able to accommodate the people. A lot of people, we have a huge summer camp at the NAC, one of the biggest in the area. And I do want to give a shout out to Doug and Gail Wick, who also run Breezy Point Day Camp. Great people, great members. Also do a great job in the camp business. And I just want to give a shout out. They're two of my favorite people and do a good job. We have a very excellent camp too. Amanda Mitchell Amanda Brown, now Sinkler, it has started that many years ago and is running it and does a phenomenal job. And as of the moment, that is not in the phase 1, but we are looking for when that will be available to us. Some people have expressed concern about their kids coming to camp. I'll put it out there right now. If somebody does catch concern about that and they're not comfortable, all they need to do is contact the club and they'll get a full refund. We would never want anybody or any family to be uncomfortable about coming to our camp. I can tell you that it will be excellent and we will do all the things that are necessary, but that's a personal decision and we will respect anybody's decision in terms of how they feel about the camp. Actually, in theory, it could be open sooner than later. Typically, we open camp when school closes. If we get the go-ahead, we will open camp sooner, particularly for those working families that are looking for a place to have their kids go. So we're ready for you again when you are. What guidelines will apply to safety, especially for kids? And again, I touched on in the outdoor pool area as well. Again, that's phase 2. We haven't really gotten that direction yet. This is a moving target. Again, it will all be set by the state and their team, and we are coming up with our own ideas on how to do that. But until those guidelines become available, we don't have that to tell you distinctly what it's going to be. I touched on what we're going to do with the adult areas. The basketball court and playground will not be open in that phase 1 because, again, that's kids all climbing together and touching things that you touch. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen in the phase 1. So we're waiting for those guidelines in phase 2. The pools are looking great, by the way. Again, Evan has done a phenomenal job out there. He's our housekeeping director, but he's also our director of the pool facilities, and he's done a phenomenal job, and he's working out there morning, noon, and night. I touched on the Surgeon General, and so I don't need to do that. I do want to mention one other thing. Locally, our partnership with Capital Health, which is now in his 3rd year, has been phenomenal for us. They have, again, Kate Golden works with them in terms of our wellness programming, and they are a tremendous partner. Capital Health, they really have looked at all the things we've done over the last couple of years, certified them for safety, and all the things that you need to do. So, I know the Surgeon General is the top person in the country, but, we're obviously not talking to the Surgeon General every day. But we are talking to Capital Health. A lot of their physicians are members of the club. They advise us on all the things we do, and they also weighed in on this sanitation plan. So I want to give a shout out to Capital Health, great partners, and it's great to know that, not just for us as me as the owner and our employees, our members, to know that, we have a hospital that stands beside everything we do, from CPR training to sanitation to our wellness programming. And by the way, we do hope to open up our wellness wing, the part when you first come in the building to the right that's been kind of vacant. We've had troubles, honestly, getting the permitting necessary to open that up, and it's even more difficult now with what's going on with COVID, because not everybody in the township is able to work at this time, which is understandable. So that's kind of drug a little, but we hope by September to have that wellness area opened up, and we'll be able to do a lot of additional things along the wellness line for our members. Hey, how long have we been on this? So I have a time. I don't want to bore people. 10 minutes, 20 minutes? Probably. Okay, these cats swallowed their tongue. Nobody can talk over there, Kim.
I can't see.
Here's another question. What has been happening with the temporary field house in the sports training center? I mean, I think some of you know that it is kind of odd how this happened. On March 15th, that Sunday evening, we got the shutdown from Governor Wolf. On the 16th, I did cheat and worked out in the gym in the fitness center with my longtime friend Dan McCluskey, who's also my training partner for the last 20 plus years. And when we're working out, we're on the pec deck, which is over there right by the TVs, and I looked out at the field house, and I said to Dan, I said, you know what, that could be a great thing in case either the community, the Newtown, or our district could use it. So I reached out to County Commissioner Diane Marseglia, who's a good friend of mine, by the way, and said, look, I want to make this available in case you need a blood. This is like 9:30 on the morning of the 16th. Blood drive, warehouse, whatever you need it to be. And she was very receptive and appreciative. And then she hooked me up with somebody from the county, and they called me later that day, and we got on their list, and then we got on the national federal list with our Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick. And then lo and behold, like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, they called and said, look, we don't know where this COVID's going with the hospitals in terms of whether it be too much of a demand for those. Would you do a hospital, 100 bed plus hospital? And we agreed to it. So it's amazing how quick they turned it around, and I want to give kudos not only to the county and Diane Marseglia, who and her team of people, just phenomenal. Doug Sharp on our team was amazing. You probably know him as one of the guys that directs Parisi, and he's also runs the sports training facility, which is the big warehouse next door. But we gave him that assignment, and he has just rose to the occasion, handled it all, and we are ready to go if for some reason there's some surge where we're needed. Now to date, nothing has happened there. No one's gotten in. Thank God. I mean, we hope that it's not going to be used, but we are ready, and that's what happened with that. And they're not going to be COVID patients, just so you know, that are going to use that. That's going to be ancillary type procedures that aren't COVID related. So if anybody's concerned about that. Another question or comment here. Thanks for continuing the renovation during these tough times. Have the timelines changed for any of them? Anything moved up and out? Good question. I'll tell you what, and this is kind of reminiscent of what happened, but in a different way during the recession the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, 2010. In fact, there was a lot of industry interest in this, and there was a lot of articles written after the fact about NAC's response during the Great Recession. It's different in the sense that that lasted for years. But we took advantage of the opportunity to actually put a brand new fitness center in, which is the one you're in now, which was a $5 million expansion. And then we came right back a year later and did the outdoor pool complex, which was a $5 million expansion. So we spent $10 million at a time when no one else was thinking about expanding. In fact, they were thinking about contracting. And I think it was one of the it was one of the best decisions we ever made in 40 years in terms of taking that plunge. It's never easy when when things aren't going well financially. At least at that time, we were in business and we're bringing in enough revenue to pay the bills. This time it's a little different. I mean, you all know that we're shut down, and there's nothing coming in. It's been a couple months of no revenue, but so I think it's what we're doing now is a lot more gutsy than it was 7-8 years ago, because we've taken on, probably since we closed, we've completed $2 million worth of projects that were in force. We're still, and by the way, we have waivers for all this. If anybody's wondering how we're getting away, we've gotten waivers, so that's not an issue. We've forged ahead. In fact, we've asked our contractors to double up so that we can get more done while you're gone, so we don't have to inconvenience when you come back. And we also want a lot of these things to come back, be done when you come back. I'm dreaming about the potential of the women's locker room being done when you all come back. Now, there's good news and bad news on that, because I want it to be done for when you come back, but I think the timeline's going to be July 1. So, and honestly, I hope you come back and it's not done, because if I have to wait till July 1 to reopen, that's going to make it even more difficult for us. But we have made great strides working, 7 days a week to get that area up to speed. So when you come back, you'll at least see that we're probably 80-90% of the way to opening that up, and it's going to be spectacular. I had mentioned earlier that we took out the handicap ramp in the fitness center, picked up 500 square feet. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're down there looking at it, it's an awful lot. We can spread things out. We can bring more equipment down that was up on the upper level by the turf. The north entrance, that was a $2 million project. When you come back, I can assure you, when you pull in the first day, you'll be either able to go into the old entrance that you've always come in for the last X amount of years, 40 years, or you can come and park in the back where the pool is and come through the new north entrance. The north entrance is awesome. It is beautiful. In fact, it really is what the old entrance is going to look like 2 years from now, if we get to that point. If I can get the phase 3, which I'm praying we can financially pull that off. But the new entrance is just spectacular. It routes you through where the pool is now, that back parking lot, which is the north side, coming off the Friends Lane. You go in there, it takes you through the where the what used to be called the Blue Gym, which we're ramping that up, which is another higher end gym in the sense that it's for more like a CrossFit / by the way, that's where the George Foreman boxing program will be. We're going to be announcing that franchise coming in, so that's going to be spectacular. George Foreman III is the son of the former heavyweight 2-time champion. He has 9 or 10 facilities around the country, and this was Kate Golden helped put this together. He has decided to come into our facility, only multi facility club in America that he's going to come into, other than Midtown in Chicago. And he's going to do it because we're so high profile. He wants to be able to show other people his franchises by coming into the NAC. So it was one of those weird situations where typically he wouldn't come into a club like ours, but in our case, he made an exception. Some of the other things that have gotten done was and you'll be shocked when you come back. There is no longer a spin studio. There's no longer Studio 2. no longer Studio One. They're gone. My son Jack Worthington and his facility team have literally taken sled hammers the last 10 days, and they're gone. I mean, you come in, it's just an open area. I didn't realize how big the club was until those rooms are just devastated and no longer with us. So now the next question is going to be, well, what's going to happen to spin? Well, we're going to move that into the old hot yoga room. Studio 2, we're going to have to find ways to do some of the class work in the gymnasium and some of the other rooms. But the reason why we wanted to knock this down is to get it done before you came back. And now we've accelerated those renovations. Remember, we did, all this boutique concept that we did in the back, the 20,000 square feet, Pulse, the bar, the reformer Pilates studio, the yoga studio. Those concepts are coming through the middle of the old club. So if you love those facilities that we have, and I think you do because it's getting industry-wide acclaim globally, that's the same thing we're going to do in those areas. And the timeline on that is we want to start construction as soon as we get the permit from the township. Now, unfortunately, the township's under the same issues that we have, is that, they have employees that, can only come in limited amount of times. So the building inspector needs to come out. He's coming back out May 1. We're hoping that when he comes out, he'll issue the permit and we can get started. I just reviewed the plans this afternoon of the renderings. It's just, it's going to be unbelievable. Techno Gym will be Techno Gym will be where Spin is now. Where Studio 2 will be called the Bar Lab, all glass enclosed, beautiful. We'll be able to do other kind of classes in that. And then where Studio 1 is where Spin will be. Now keep in mind, not those same sizes because the whole area is reconstructed. In fact, Spin will probably be as big as Techno Gym. So, so don't think that they're in the same, all that space is reconfigured for 3 beautiful large rooms that are going to be unbelievable. And then you're going to have this big promenade that you can walk down from the program desk, from the front lobby, all the way down to Pulse. And on the left-hand side will be these studios that will knock your socks off. As beautiful as Pulse, with the same type styling, it's going to be ridiculous. And I'll give you another little one, and I'm not going to get into too much detail because you're not going to probably understand it without seeing it. But the stairs that go down to the first floor in the lobby, we're taking them out, and we're actually turning them long ways. So they're going to be in the member lounge going down, right, into the fitness center where you'll exit out the stairs to this beautiful lounge area down across from the turf, outside the men's and women's locker room. And I know it's probably hard to visualize this, but I was sitting there with my architect about a month ago, and I said, we could pick up more space in the lobby, run these stairs down this thing, and have a lot more room and make it open up more. And he was surprised I wanted to spend the money to do it, but honestly, it's going to be a huge difference for the club. Some other things that are on the list, the European Spa, that has not been put in the back burner. We are going to do that in this summer. One thing we won't be able to do is the indoor pool renovation, which is going to be a total blowout of that area. The reason why we won't get the permits in time to do it, and that's going to be a 5-month project that we wanted to start in April. And if we had started in April, when the weather got better, the swimmers could have went outside to swim. But now if you started in July, it would leak into November, December, and I just don't want to take the swimming away from the people. So that's one thing that did get tossed to the side. In regards to a couple other things, we've repainted almost the entire club. We put express lockers near the Group X studio so you don't have to put your bags on the floor. Those bathrooms that are in high demand that we never had on the second floor, when we did, we took them out. You'll come back to 4 beautiful, all handicap accessible, huge bathrooms located right next to poles in the middle of there. So, men and women will have access to 4 great bathrooms. And the last thing is, this is phase 2 that we're on now. Phase 3, which is the whole new front entrance of the club. I'm not saying it's on hold, but we have to get through and see, what our situation is 6 months into it. I'm hoping everybody will come back, or as many people that feel comfortable come back. But phase 3 is not something I can promise right now until, honestly, the bank gets comfortable with our position in terms of where we are business-wise. I've said this over the years for 40-some years. I mean, we've grown from a 3-acre, 15,000 square foot, 11-court racquetball club because of the support of the community and our members. And we grew. It's because you paid good money to be a member of our club, and we were able to reinvest. And that's kind of where we are on phase 3. Frankly, this like all businesses, we took a hit. Somewhere in the middle neighborhood when it's all said and done, $4 or $5 million worth of revenue. There's people that have a lot worse than us, and thank God that we're able to sustain that. But that's a very tough thing to swallow when you're in a expansion. Remember, in November we just completed a $7 million expansion. We had another $5 million on the books that we're doing now that I've committed to. Even if I go broke, we're going to commit to do it, and the next guy can come along and pay for it. No, I'm only kidding. I mean, we're going to do it. So that's $12 million of stuff at probably the worst time in the history of the fitness industry. Do we have time for one more? Okay. Actually, 2 more. People have asked how we kept our employees. We have 50 full-time staff members. There's 400 and some people typically in the busy time in the summer. But like the restaurant industry and the fitness industry is somewhat similar, as many of the people aren't full-time. In fact, 90% of them or 80% of them are not. We were able to we made the decision on March 15th, way before PPP and all the other, stimulus things, that we were going to keep our full-time employees, and we did. And so just last week, we had applied just like everybody else for PPP. So we did get it. So we were going to maintain our employees anyway, but this certainly helped. So I can tell you our employees are working hard. Give you an example. Melissa Christie, our member experience person, has been working diligently on what's called a shutdown survey that was basically surveying our members. The company MXM is the survey company that had it for us. We've surveyed, I think, 750 people, trying to get their input on what they want to see when we come back, the things that they're concerned about, and so on and so forth. So we have spent a lot of time, so a credit to Melissa Christie and her team. Denise Watkins has overseen, I think, 7 or 8 employees. We tried to, within the first 2 weeks, call every single employee. If we didn't, we tried to email them. So they've been busy trying to keep in touch. In fact, I want to give a shout out to Joel Eckert, who early on was, we were getting requests for people that couldn't get things to their house and needed help, and Joel would drive to their homes and drop off food and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, his father passed away a couple weeks into this, and he had to go off to Florida, but everybody knows Joel knows he's a great guy. The rest of the team, I mentioned Jamie Carnahan, Chloe. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, Taylor Antolino with the marketing, Lindsay with Dower with our videos, our team of instructors that have done videos at home that we were able to do for free through the live streaming. Bonnie Carey and Andrea Welsh, and I know I shouldn't name names because I'm going to miss them, but they've all been excellent. Volunteered their time doing it. Our trainers are out there training virtually with their customers. We told them to go out and do whatever they could to make a living and support themselves and and do all the things they needed to do. They're out there chipping in. So our staff has been pretty well taken care of. Continuing ed, cleaning the club. I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, look, we have the best staff in the industry, bar none. So, I mean, you couldn't find a club in America that maybe one, Midtown in Chicago. I love those guys, and they're kind of somebody I look up to tremendously. And there's other ones too, don't get me wrong, but I put up our staff against anyone. Last question. Have time for one more? So somebody was actually interested in what I've been doing, which is hard to believe. So what I've been doing for the last 40 days is probably working harder now than I have in the last year. And probably 10 to 15% might be on the club. By the way, I want to mention Brian Herman, our CFO, has done a phenomenal job, and his team too, to get us into the PPP and figure out what bills we could divert, and working with our banks and stuff like that to make sure that we could find ways to stay in business and still fulfill our obligations. So he's done a great job. I have spent probably 80 to 90% of my time with Linda Mitchell fighting, not just for the fitness industry, but working to represent all small business and larger business. Oh, the lights went on. And a lot of this work's been in D.C. Besides the fact that working on PPP and trying to get that for the fitness industry and some other industries, we've been trying to work on business interruption insurance for all businesses. And there was a bill that I actually helped. It was ironic how these things happen. On March 16th, our Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick called me and asked, what's the thing that's going to concern you most on this shutdown? We're shut down a long time. And I said, business interruption insurance. And he started talking to the constituents in the congressional first, and he found out that was, to a person, the number one concern they had. So a bill was dropped in Congress last week. We're trying to get everybody involved in doing that. So, supporting that bill. I'm not going to lie to you, we're getting resistance from the insurance industry. We are, I don't want to get too much into the dynamics of it, but basically we're trying to get a federally backed bill so the insurance industry doesn't have to pay for it. But this is kind of high level stuff that Linda's been working on in terms of helping not only us, but the nation. Frankly, the PPP, we've been working on a lot for the larger club operators that we don't fall into that category, but we want to see them succeed too. So we've spent a lot of time on that. So really, it's been morning, noon, and night. Today was the first day I did not go into the club. I worked from home. And Sunday was the first day I had off in like 40 days. And I know Linda's working just as hard. Linda Mitchell, who's been my advocacy and charitable director for now, I don't know how many years, 15, 20 years, but has been with me for 42 years. So, we're trying to make a difference, not just for the NAC. We're trying to make a difference for, all Americans, and, whether they're in the fitness industry or not. We've leveraged our contacts, whether it be in D.C. or on the state level, and all trying to help people. If anybody think the NAC's a wellness fitness business, there's no question it is a business, but our platform for the last 15 years has been one where we use it to be able to do good things, whether it's the Right to Try bill, which has come in the public eye right now. Matt Bellina, who's our member, who was really key in that, who the bill is named after. It's the Matt Bellina, Jordan McClin, Trickett Wendler, Frank Mangiella Right to Try bill. That bill that the president talks about, the Right to Try, originated in the NAC, and which is, when you think about it, now when did that come into play with COVID, talking about these experimental drugs that they want to give people? If that Right to Try didn't get done, Matt Bellina, his mother Debbie, his wife Caitlin, a lot of people might not be living. So we're working hard to do things for America, and it's been, believe me, it's very rewarding work, and Linda would tell you the same thing. So, hey, that's about it, unless there's something that came in that I don't know about. Any questions? Kim, do you have any question?
No.
You didn't do a very good job with the dogs, by the way. They were running all over the place. But anyway, look, we'll keep in touch. We'll let you know. It was nice spending some time with you. We'll be back. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.